Hello and welcome to today's edition of Your Questions Answered with Father Gruner. I'm John Veneri. We take the questions that you send us via email. Father Gruner answers them. We discuss them. Please continue to send us your questions at questions@thefatimacenter.com. Today we have a question about the consecration of Russia. It says, I've read that Pope John Paul II has requested or invited the bishops of the world to join him in the consecration of the world to the Immaculate Heart. But on page 23 of the Fatima Center's booklet, The Only Way to World Peace, it says the moment has come in which God asks the Holy Father to make and to order that in union with him and at the same time all the bishops of the world make the consecration of Russia to my Immaculate Heart. Close quote. There is a great deal of difference between a request or an invitation and an order.
Absolutely, of course. Go ahead.
My question is this: if the Pope, in the fullness of his apostolic authority, speaking as the vicar of Christ on earth, orders all the Catholic bishops of the world to perform some act in union with him, is there any immediate penalty imposed on those bishops who either refuse or ignore his orders? And if so, what would that penalty be?
Well, first of all, I'd like to break this question down since it's a long question. It is true that Pope John Paul invited, I'm not sure he requested, but he invited the bishops of the world, the Catholic bishops, to join him on March 25th, 1984. He invited them. Most of them, or many of them, did not accept his invitation. So the bishops did not join him, although some did. Secondly, he asked for the consecration of the world, and it wasn't the world that Our Lady asked for, she asked for the consecration of Russia. And that's the crucial point. Two things. It's public, it's solemn, it's the Pope and the Catholic bishops of the world to consecrate Russia. But all the same, the person asking is we have the quote from Sister Lucy. It's in the English version of the second volume of Frère Michel. The moment has come which God asks the Holy Father to make and to order, and that is the word used by Sister Lucy, to command or to order the bishops, in union with him, the bishops of the world. So the Pope is to give an order, and again you will find our Lord that's in 1929 that this is Our Lady speaking, but she says the moment has come in which God asks. So it's Our Lady speaking in the presence, the visible presence of the Most Holy Trinity, and Our Lady is speaking, says the moment has come in which God asks the Holy Father to make and to command, and that's the word used, and it's Sister Lucy's own handwriting, and it was in a document found in a trunk in her handwriting in 1984. She was still alive. And she died 21 years after that. The original document that's often quoted doesn't use the word order, but it was rewritten by her confessor. It was burnt. He had her burned, but this one is in her own handwriting. So this is a more accurate one of the two descriptions of that thing. Secondly, our Lord himself, and it's not questioned anywhere at all, in 1931, our Lord refers to the command, make it known to my bishops, my ministers, given they follow the example of the King of France in not obeying my command, like the King of France. So he's talking, our Lord refers to this also as a command. It's a command given to the Pope, and the Pope has to give a command to the bishops. So, and that's what has to happen. And why is that? Because God is going to convert the world with this thing, and the Orthodox are going to see that the Pope has the power, has the jurisdiction to command, and the bishops must obey him. And it's the obedience of the bishops with the Pope obeying the command of God. It comes from God, and it comes through the Queen of Heaven, the Queen of the Blessed Virgin. They must obey, and the bishops must obey the Pope commanding them on such and such a date to do this, to do the consecration of Russia. And so the answer is, in Father Caillon, he said this at a meeting of the Blue Army. I was at the International Board of the Blue Army back in 80 or 81. What the Pope needs to do is command the bishops under pain of excommunication or of pain of demission of office. I think excommunication would be more safe, actually. That the bishops, so if the bishops are commanded by the Pope and if they don't obey and they're excommunicated, they're no longer Catholic bishops. So we don't need their obedience. So either they obey and we have the consecration, or they don't obey, we still have all the bishops obeying, because the other ones aren't bishops anymore, because they're outside the church. And the Pope has that power to do that. And it's defined in the First Vatican Council. The Pope has the power to command for the good of the Church. And this nothing more important for the good of the Church than this command.
Well, it's interesting, too, that this person had the good sense to ask what the penalty would be, because, as you know, there can be no law without a penalty.
Yes.
You know, if it just says, well, don't run a stop sign, or because it's not nice and we wouldn't like that, there's going to be a lot of people running stop signs.
Yeah.
But even though it's contrary to common sense, but if you know, you run a stop sign, and if you're caught, you get a ticket, you get points, you
lose points, you lose money, or whatever.
Whatever it is,
yeah.
That is the penalty. That is the teeth in the law.
Yes.
So the command would have to have teeth.
But see, but the other thing about the beauty of this command, by having teeth in it, is that you get 100. So you say, well, how are you going to get 100% of the bishops to obey? It's very easy. If they don't obey, they're not bishops because they've been excommunicated. So we don't need their obedience. So it's a win-win situation. They're no longer bishops, so it doesn't break the 100%. Now, the question has been asked, what about a bishop who's in prison or a bishop who's infirm, he's sick? Well, then God does not ask the impossible for them. And the Pope would not, his command would be, obviously, if you're not in prison, so that you're not physically incapacitated from obeying the command, or if you're not sick, so I mean, if you're sick, you have a little cold, you can do it. But if you're sick, you can't even walk or something like, then the command doesn't apply to them. But then you have, but God is not expecting that from these people who are either the bishops who are sick or in prison, because God does not ask for the impossible. But we still have the moral unanimity, but everyone else is involved, and you get the moral unanimity of everyone. So that's the only way you're going to get this thing. So if I were a pope, I'd have to get the order. I'm a nice guy. I try to be a nice guy to you, but sorry, I'm serious here. If you don't obey this order, you're excommunicated. And if you're excommunicated, then we don't need your obedience.
Yeah.
And so you got the moral unanimity. So it's not that hard to do, and it can be done. And of course, that's what Father Caillon was calling for back in front of the Blue Army back in 81 when I was on their. I was on their board many years ago before I realized that they couldn't. Well, today, I realized they're not promoting the full message of Fatima.
So with that, we have it that the Pope must command. He has the authority to command, and he has the authority to lay down a penalty for not following that command, which also is a great answer to the Council's new spirit of collegiality.
Well, it's very. I mean, and many bishops and cardinals would want him to do that.
Yes.
In a spirit, because they know it has to be done.
Yes.
And some of them have said so publicly. I mean, I can quote them, and some said to me, even a cardinal wrote to me, Father Gruner, your work is from Providence, but don't quote me. Don't.
What's it say? Cardinals make weak friends and powerful enemies?
Yes.
So anyway, thank you for this question, and we will see you on the next broadcast.